Hi class. Today we're going to be starting lesson 6, which is on page 146 in your book. And we're going to be talking about how to use masks and channels. So we are going to be creating a mask to remove this lady from her background. And we're going to learn how to select complex things like her hair. And then we'll be adding a new background and a new shadow. So go ahead and get this file opened up. It's the 06 start file, and we're going to save it first thing. So we'll just go File, Save As, and we'll just call it 06 Working Photoshop document. Okay. Alright, so on page 149, you're going to see a list of masks and alpha channels. So all of them have the same sort of idea. It's an image overlay that uses white, black, and gray areas to control which areas of the layer are visible or transparent. So it's how much of the layer gets let through. So a color channel stores one of the visible components of a color image, so red, green, or blue. An alpha channel stores a selection as a grayscale image. A layer mask is an alpha channel attached to a specific layer in Photoshop. A vector mask is a layer mask made of resolution-independent vector objects. A clipping mask is created when a layer masks another layer. A channel mask is a mask created using the tonal contrast in a color channel. A quick mask is a temporary mask you create to restrict painting or other edits to a specific area of a layer. So that's kind of a good chart to refer back to when you get confused, because it will get confusing. The three main masks that we talk about are going to be layer mask, clipping mask, and vector masks. So we're going to go up to Select, and we're going to go down to Select and Mask. So this brings you up into a new dialog box, and you'll see there's like a little overlay on the image. So right now, your view mode over here, if you click on this drop down arrow, you can change it. Right now it's got what's called the onion skin, and that's gonna show you the masked areas. We're gonna change it to overlay so we see this red filter, and then you can close out that menu. So nothing is masked yet, but it's easier to see it on this red filter, okay? So up here, you're gonna go to the setting that says Select Subject. So it's gonna identify people, animals, objects, and it's gonna try and make the selection for you. And then we also have this Refine Hair button here, which is gonna help with our hair. Okay, now they want us to go to the view mode again and change it to black and white. So this blacks out where there's no mask, and then it'll just show white on the areas where there is a mask. And then you're going to go down to the properties panel and go down to refine mode, and it should say color aware already. You can either put it on color aware or object aware. Okay, now let's look at the view mode again, and we're going to go to overlay. Okay, so for some reason it's not actually selecting her. Let me see what's going on. Oh, you got to actually click select subject. Okay, let's try this again. So we'll go to select subject, and now I can see that Photoshop's actually thinking about the mask. Okay, that's what we want. So now you can see her normal, and then the background is red, which is good. Now you want to go ahead and change it to color aware. And then this time you can change the view mode to black and white. Now you can actually see these fine little hairs that it's selected. So it's done a pretty good job for us. Okay, go back to overlay. Okay, now you're going to use your quick selection tool, which is this top one over here on the left hand side. And we're going to put our brush size around 15 pixels. And we're going to just drag this over the mist areas. So that's going to be, you may need to zoom in a little bit too. It's going to be down here in the hair area. So you can just drag it over that. And that's actually part of her shirt. Okay, so see how I got too far on the gray here? I'm going to switch to minus and push it back the other way. Okay, let's look back here. We'll see if there's any. So where you drag teaches the quick selection tool which areas should be revealed and are not part of the mask. I don't really think there's any other areas. It's really just this front part right here. Okay, so I'm going to go back out and fit screen. And then this time I want to view it on layers. So when I go to view on layers, it's going to let me look at this mask on the layers that are beneath it in my Photoshop document. So we have this blue layer behind us, right? So we're going to go ahead and zoom in, and I'll just start with her back, and we're going to just go into about 400%, and we're going to inspect all of these edges to make sure that we're happy with those selections. Okay, now we want to go to the back of her hair where her bun is, and we're going to just refine the mask a little bit. The Refine Edge brush tool is designed to mask edges with challenging details. So again, make sure you're zoomed in. The Refine Edge brush is over here, the second one down. And we're going to make this about 20 pixels with a hardness of 100%. And we're going to drag it between the hair bun and the ends of the hair. So what it's going to do is it's going to revisit those areas and redo that selection. So if there were any missing parts, it should go ahead and pick them up here. Okay, now go on down to the back of her neck and do that same thing. Mine actually just did a pretty good job overall, but right in here, you want to see the blue come through. So you'll just click and drag over that. You can do Command plus and Command minus on the Mac, or Control plus, Control minus to zoom in and out. Okay, so gaps in the hair should become masked as transparent, and fine hairs are added to the visible edge. Now you can view in the black and white mode again, and you'll see all those fine little hairs masked through. Okay, so I'm going to zoom back out. This time we're going to be dealing with her glasses. So we're going to go to view mode again and choose on layers. And we're going to go down to the global refinements, which are down here. And we're going to create a smooth edge along her face. So let's go ahead and zoom into her face. Okay, so the smooth slider, you want to move that up to 1. The contrast to 20%. And the shift edge to -15. This shifts the edge of your shape just a little bit to over blend it, compensate. Okay, let's see. Background layer. Okay, and if you're happy with that, then that's good. So when you're happy with the mask, you can create its final output as a selection, a layer with transparency, a layer mask, or a new document. For this project, we wanted to use this as a layer mask on the model layer, which is selected when you entered selected mask. So to go down to these output settings, go ahead and scroll that open and go down until you go ahead and click decontaminate colors, and that will suppress the color fringing from the light, and then you can set it to about 25%. Okay, so now we want to output to new layer with layer mask, and then we'll click OK. So we've got a copied layer with the mask on there. Okay, so go ahead and save that. Next, we'll be creating a quick mask for her glasses. So you're going to hide the background layer. And then Make sure the model copy layer is selected. And then you're going to go to this button over on the left, right underneath your foreground background colors. This is the quick mask mode. So when you're in quick mask mode, a red overlay is going to appear as we make a selection, masking the area outside the selection, the way that a rubylith or red acetate was used to mask images in traditional print shop. So go ahead and go to your brushes, which is your B tool. So the mode should be set on normal. Open up the brush panel and we'll get a diameter of about 13, a hardness of 100. You can zoom in if you want, but you're going to be painting over the earpiece of the glasses frames. The area you paint is going to turn red. So one thing that's helpful when you're painting is you can click in one spot and then hold down Shift and click in another spot, and it creates a straight line in between those two spots. So that might help you here. You can get those straight lines by doing that. Okay, so you're going to do that earpiece, then you're also going to go in and do around the glasses frame. If you need to make your brush smaller, use the left bracket key. And again, you might need to zoom in or out. You might need to make your brush bigger or smaller. Whatever works for you. I think I got some of her nose in there. And you're trying just to get the frame, not where the lens would be. Okay, now you can get rid of the quick mask mode. So click that button and you'll see that it's going to actually load this as a selection. So the marching ants. So you're going to go select inverse, and then you're going to go up to image, adjustments, hue saturation, and then we're going to take these pixels and manipulate them around the color wheel so that we can make her glasses look green. So around 70 is a good green color. And you can click OK. And then you can go up to the select menu and deselect, or you can do Control D or Command D on a Mac. Alright, so now we're going to zoom out and fit the screen. You can see her green glasses. You can see that blue background. It really pops against that. The next thing we'll be doing is called a puppet warp. And basically what it does is it allows you to treat any image as though it had joints, and you can actually warp it, so it's kind of fun. So we're going to go up to the edit menu to get there. Make sure you're still on the model copy layer. So go edit, puppet warp. And it creates this grid, geometric grid mesh, and we're going to use the mesh to place pins where we want to control movement or ensure that there is no movement. So we're going to add pins around the body, along the base of her head, and you can see this in your book on page 162. So you're going to click to add pins. Each time you click, Puppet Warp adds a pin. About 10 to 12 pins should work. So let's go ahead and do the ones at the base of her neck back here. I'm going to have one there, one there, one there. And I mean, you can estimate this based on what you see in your book. Okay, we're going to add one around her collarbone. So we're basically like creating almost like a bone structure so that we can manipulate these pins. And see her head tilt back. Okay, now at the back, you're going to come down her hairline. Okay, and then you're going to press Alt or Option on the Mac, and you should see, yeah, whatever one is selected. So let's click on the one at the back of her neck, top right. Now you want to go ahead, because that one's selected, now you want to do the Alt or Option, and you're going to see this blue circle appear next to it. So that's where we're going to rotate her head. So keep pressing Alt, and you're going to drag the pointer to rotate the head backwards. You can see the angle of rotation up here in the options bar when it gets to about 170. Okay, so you've chosen that point, and you're kind of squishing all the pixels to that point, if that makes sense. Okay, you can also enter it up there if you wanted. Okay, and then when you're happy with it, you're going to click the check mark. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is create a shadow. To do that, we're going to use an alpha channel. So a channel contains an image's color and selection information. So we're going to create a selection first. So you're going to control click or command click the layer thumbnail on the model copy layer. So you're going to click control click or command click there. And what that should do is it should create a selection of everything on that layer. And then you're going to go up to select and save selection. And we're just going to call it model outline. Okay, and then you want to have it create, or just click OK. Okay, and then we're going to create a new layer at the bottom of the layers panel, so the little plus sign. And you want to drag this layer below the model copy layer because it's going to be a shadow. So double click the name layer 1 and we'll name it shadow. Okay, and then with that layer selected, you want to go up to select menu and select end mask. Okay, now let's go over to our view mode and we're going to view it on black. And you can see here that we have a little bit extra in our selection because we have that white glowing edge. So we're going to shift our edge. If we go down to global refinements, that's where you find that. Shift edge setting is going to go up to 38. Or 36, okay? And then output to selection is what we want. And then we'll click OK. And then we're going to go up to Edit, Fill, and we're going to choose black and click OK. So what we did was we just made our shadow layer. You can't see it real well because it's right behind her, okay? But go ahead and change the opacity of that layer to 30%. And then we can remove our selection, so Control D or Command D on a Mac. And then you can either use the free transform tool, or you can use the rotate tool. They go up to edit, transform, and rotate. So we're going to rotate it minus 15 degrees, which you can also do in this box up here. And then we're going to drag it to the left. So you can drag up here in the x-axis until it says 545. Okay, so now it actually looks like her shadow. Go ahead and click the check mark. Okay, and then just save that. The last thing we're going to do is create a pattern. So I'm going to show you how you can create a repeating pattern. in Photoshop. So we have a pattern file. So we're going to go to File, Open, and it should be in that same zip folder. So it should say 06 pattern.psd. So this is its own file, and this is where you're going to create your pattern. Right now it's just a little blue background. But we're going to create our pattern. So go down here to the rectangle tool and hover on it and go down until it says Polygon tool. So this is where you can create a polygon with a number of sides, and where you can create a star shape. Okay, so up here you want to make sure it's set to shape mode, and you want to hold down Shift, and we're going to draw a polygon that is about 340 pixels wide. So you can kind of check that out. If you're in inches mode, which I am, I'm going to undo that, and if you just right click on the ruler up here and change it to pixels, then you can see how wide it is in pixels. So hold down Shift to make it a square like a proportionate polygon, and then drag out until you have a width of 340. Okay, now you can set the fill to none. So over here you want to choose the slash, which is none. The stroke is going to be a navy blue color. Oh, that's gradient. Hold on. Here's a good navy blue under dark. Okay, and then the width of the stroke needs to be 20 px. The number of sides of our polygon is set down here. So you don't have to know the number of sides before you drag it out. You can actually just change that later. So we're going to do 8 sides, which makes it an octagon. And then keep going down, scroll down. There's this little star button right here. And you want to set that to 70%. And then you're going to start to see that star shape. I think my color is a bit dark, so I'm going to go over here and put in the value that they used. So I'm going to click on this little rainbow swatch right here, and I can put in the RGB values. So R's 27, G's 58, and B is 185. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my move tool and make sure it's centered on my canvas. And then I'm going to duplicate the star shape layer. So you can, there's several ways you can do that. You can right click, duplicate layer. And then in the properties panel on that one, we're going to change the rotate angle to 24 degrees. on the duplicated one, okay? Then you're gonna do Control T or Command T on a Mac. It's gonna get the free transform tool. And you can go up here to width and height if you want. We're going to actually just hold down Alt or Option on the Mac. And what that's going to do is it's going to scale it proportionally. So you want to drag it down to where the points on the inside one hit the points on the outside one. Okay, then click the check mark. So now that we have our shapes, we're going to go up to View, Pattern Preview, and then go ahead and click OK. So you can see what that pattern might look like. The large star, we're going to select it in the Layers panel, and we're going to get the Move tool, which we should have already. And we're going to look for a small circular handle inside the top right star point. If you don't see it, you want to check Show Transform Controls. So you can see that little circle up here. So you're going to drag the handle to change the sharp star points to rounded points. And we're going to do a radius of 20. So that's just going to round those points on the star. Now select the small star, and you can do that same thing, or you can go down here in the properties to this curved line, and you can type in 15 pixels, and it will curve those as well. Oh, sorry, undo on that. We don't want to curve those ones. So we're actually going to go to number of points, and we're going to put it as a 15-point star. And then you can reduce the stroke width on that to 15 pixels. Okay, so this is essentially what we want to end up with. Now you can go up to Edit, Define Pattern, and call it Podcast, and click OK. So now you've made this pattern, and you can apply it anywhere you want. So the last thing we're going to do is apply that pattern. So go ahead and select the background layer. And turn it on. And then you're going to go to this black and white circle right here. And you should see one that says pattern. And so this is how you fill your background with a pattern. Okay, so over here there's a little drop down arrow, and you should see your custom pattern right there. And then you can actually change the angle of it and the scale right here. So the angle we're going to set to 45. So it'll do small rotations of 45 degrees, and then we'll set the scale to 35% and click OK. So you made a pattern and you filled the back with the pattern.